All right, this is a regular meeting of the Ferndale Public Schools Board of Education being held Monday, June 15th, 2020, in accordance with the Open Meetings Act on Zoom as allowed by the governor's order. The meeting is called to order at 7:05 p.m. Roll call, Ms. Shepherd.
Dookie,
Here.
Abraham,
Here.
Mueller,
Here.
Latash,
Here.
O'Donnell,
Here.
President Davison.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 1.2, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we move on to the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything any amendments they wish to make to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, the agenda will we will follow the agenda as planned. That moves us to item 2 on the agenda, the budget hearing for the 2020-2021 school year.
All right, so Nancy, which presentation do you want me to share first with the screen? The original budget or the second budget?
Actually, I want you to share the tax resolution.
Okay, the L4029.
Yes.
Got it. Can you see my board book loading?
Yes.
Okay.
And the horse.
Yep. I saw the horse.
Horse.
There was a horse. On your desktop, a picture of
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's my Danny. Yeah. All right.
No.
You'll be right after that.
Right?
Yep, that's the resolution. Then right after that. Okay. So this is a copy of our 2020 tax rate request, commonly referred to as the L4029. These are what we are requesting each of our 4 municipalities to levy this year for the district. I want to point out, if you look at the first line where it says voted, yep, right there where Danya has the mouse going, you can see that with the rollback that we received this year of 0.9796, that takes us to be permanently reduced to 18.0100, which is basically just above 18. So I just want to mention it's a really good thing that we went out to vote to get the additional 2 mills for the Headley override, because we narrowly escaped being under 18 this year for this tax season. So this year, so we'll be levying that millage at 18. If you carry that across, you can see that. The second line there is the 2 mills that were just voted in March for the Headley override. Because it was voted in March, it is subject to a Headley rollback. So you can see it's now rolled back to 1.9592. We will not be levying anything because, again, we can only levy 18 mills. So we don't need to levy anything from that millage this year. And so you can see that's why it's 0 in the next column. The next line is our debt millage. which we will be levying 7 mills, which is what we have levied for the last number of years. We will continue to do that, even including our new debt that again was voted in March. And then the final line is our sinking fund, which was originally voted in at 1.3 mills. You can see again, it's subject again this year to a Headley rollback of 0.9738. So at this point, we will be levying 1.1670. We still will, because the taxable value has gone up, which is for the most part what causes a Headley rollback, we still will receive in the neighborhood of $930,000, $940,000, which is what we've been receiving the last couple of years. So even though that millage was rolled back, we will still receive the same amount for our, around the same amount. We're really not going to lose anything in our sinking fund. So that is our tax rate request for this year that we'll be asking you to vote on later in the meeting.
Okay.
All right. Which slide next, Nancy?
Okay, then the other one that's on the budget hearing would just be the current year, or the new, the new budget. So the 2021 budget. And if you just want to put in, I can talk about this now, or I can do it later. I can do this PowerPoint now.
Yeah, I would do it now at the beginning, so that
Okay.
we'll just go through if there's any discussion.
Okay. So you can go to, okay, it did not turn out well.
Let me try one more thing and see if I'm gonna stop sharing just for 1 second and see if I pull it a different way, because when you open it in Google Slides, it sometimes doesn't come through exactly the same way. So let me try one quick thing. 20 seconds, please.
Oh, there we go. Much nicer. Okay. So this is our this is the revenue for the 2021 budget. We the assumptions we're using budgeting at 3,043 FTEs, which is a reduction of 73 FTE from what we're currently being funded at. The blended membership remains the same. We're still being paid at 90/10. We have put in a foundation allowance decrease of 350. We know it's been talked about. It could be anywhere 650, 750 to 1,000 per student. Again, at this point, it's all on paper. So we are being a little optimistic and hoping it's 350. If it is 350, we really feel that this budget is manageable for this year, and we should be okay without excessive additional cuts. Again, if we get higher cuts than this, as everyone else is putting in their budget, then we'll have to come back to you with additional cuts that Danya and I have worked through, and we have a list. But at this point, we're going with 350, which brings our foundation to 8,139 for this year. The MIPSR stabilization rate increased to 14.51, and we have a loss, again, of our adult education allocation, our section 107. We are hoping, as in past years, that they will come back and offer us more money. But at this point, the allocation is only $487,000, which this year we were looking at close to $700,000 in allocation. So we're hoping that we'll get more. For our expenditures, you see, while we are down a little bit in our total instruction. Again, this is a percentage that we're trying to work really hard on to get up. As we're starting out this year, we are starting out a little bit down from last year. And then support services is relatively flat between this year and last year, what we're projecting. Okay. Some of the things we did reduce our unemployment costs from 25 to 15. We are at this point not looking at any layoffs, so we're hoping we'll stay at that point. We've decreased our special pay allocation from 100,000 to 75. We did experience a 3.3% increase in our insurance hard cap, and the budgeted retirement did increase from 27.5 to 28.21%. Our custodial expenditures went up about 34,000. We are in the third year of a 3-year contract, and we were we have been working to reduce the amount of counselor dollars that we had in our at-risk budget. But due to the projected decrease in foundation allowance, we have moved them back up to 62.15%. So there's 4 counselors that we have in the at-risk budget. So our total expenditures are 37,498, which is excess expenditures over revenue of 1.2 million. We're estimating our beginning fund balance at just under 7 million, and you'll see this when I present the second amendment, which will give us an estimated ending fund balance of almost $5.8 million. Does anybody have any questions?
So again, as you know, as we've pointed out to folks, we really need everyone within the community to really lobby our legislators and our senators in terms of, in terms of school budget. I don't think that's where they should attempt to balance their budget in terms of unprecedented cuts to our foundation allowance. We're still behind. We still haven't caught up from the cuts of 2011, and it's we're taking the path that we're not going to make it easy on them. Right? We're not going to make all these cuts to positions that we feel are important and say, okay, we made it work. If they're going to cut us, they're going to cut us, and then we'll respond to it. So I think they watch, those types of things to see where schools are going to end up. And I want them to know that we're already carrying a $1.2 million deficit. And if they are going to reduce more than the $350 per pupil, then it's going to take much needed services and programming that we believe our students need. So it's not that we're oblivious to the fact that it could be worse than $350, but we're not going to cut good people with an assumption. Questions for Nancy or I? All right, Nancy, the second amendment slide is up.
Oh, no, that one we don't talk about here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. In that case, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move to item 3 on the agenda, the building presentation for the month, and we welcome Heidi Schmidt from the Ferndale Early Childhood Center.
Hello, Heidi.
Hi, everyone. Dinah, do you want me to present from my computer?
Whatever's easiest for you. I can give you rights to share, or I can share it for you. Let me just,
Whatever works.
here, I'll give you control so that you don't have to tell me next slide. All right, you should be able to now.
Okay. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So how I like to start every year when I do this board presentation is just kind of get an overview of the building, where we're standing with enrollment, and kind of a little bit of an education piece on our programs, the different programs that we have in the building, just to educate those that are here that might not know exactly what we have going on at the Early Childhood Center. So this year, for 2019-2020, we had a total student count of 167, and that is students in the building in seats, full day. It is not our students that we have coming in for early intervention, walk-in, play group. We're well over 200 when we count those students. For Head Start, we have 34 students, GSRP 32 students, Head Start and GSRP blended classroom, we have 32 students. Our Little Eagles classrooms, we have 51 students. And then our Early Childhood Special Education classroom, we have 18 students. So that's about 9 in the AM and 9 in the PM. This year, all programs maintained 100% enrollment. And we had a waiting list for our tuition-based program, as well as Head Start and GSRP. A little bit of that education piece, just for those that don't know. Our Head Start classrooms are federally funded. It's a 4-day free preschool program that serves children 3 to 5 years old. So if these students come in at 3 years old, they have the opportunity to get 2 years of a free preschool program. Household income is the primary factor in determining eligibility, and these families are living at 100% of the federal poverty guideline. And that changes every year, and we're communicated as to what that cutoff is. With this program, kind of like Ferndale itself, we are all about serving the whole child and supporting not only the child, but the family. So additional services that we are required to provide to our Head Start families are disability services. So those are our students with IEPs, family services, physical, dental, nutrition, and mental health services. So you're going to see us really pushing in Head Start for families to have a medical home, a dental home. And if they don't have those, pushing to get them to make sure that they connect with somebody, because the whole child, including physical health, is very important. And with these students, they must be Oakland County residents. So not necessarily Ferndale, but Oakland County. Our GSRP students, that is also a government funded program. It's 4 days, free preschool, but this is funded by the state. It is a 1-year program for 4-year-olds, and household income again is the primary factor. But these families are living at about 250% of the federal poverty line. So for lack of better terms, not considered as much at risk, but still an at-risk population. Again, students must be Oakland County residents to be in this program. Okay. Our tuition-based program, Little Eagles, is a public program funded by tuition and district general funds for 3 to 5-year-olds. So we have multi-age classrooms. Our students have 3, 4, or 5-day full options. Enrollment is done on a first-come, first-served basis. And at this point, residency is not a determining factor. Students can live anywhere and be a candidate for the program. Looking at our population and who's been coming through, we will probably next year put forth some guidelines that gives precedence to Ferndale district residents. So when we do tuition, we open it up to current students and then staff. Next year, we'll probably open it up to current students, staff, and Ferndale residents, and then do open enrollment for additional communities that would like to participate in the program. And then our ECSE program is a free program provided by the district for students aged 2.5 to 5 years old with special needs. These needs range from medical and health concerns to being diagnosed with somewhere on the autism spectrum. Many different needs in this classroom. The program runs 4 half days. We have an AM and a PM session. Students must be Ferndale district residents to enroll. And I think the great thing about this program is over the last 2 or 3 years, we've done a phenomenal job of transitioning from the ECSE self-contained special ed classroom to a general ed classroom. So we have implemented a 1755 program, which takes students into the general ed classroom, but providing them with additional support as that transition piece. Does anybody have any questions about any of our programs or requirements? Yeah. Okay, so today I chose,
Hi.
oh, sorry, yeah.
I just have a question about the wait list.
Yeah,
Is the wait list long for Head Start and GSRP? And are there residents that hang out on the wait list?
so for Head Start and GSRP, we don't currently have a wait list right now. In fact, with those programs, we have to place based on risk and need. So what we do is we do enrollments and we take all the information, and then we do not place until August. Okay, so that information I was sharing was for like 2019, 2020. We had maintained a wait list all year because we didn't have openings. We didn't have people moving or leaving the program. For next year, we have not started placing students in Head Start or GSRP as of yet. Did that answer your question? Okay. So for today, I kind of chose 3 areas of the strategic plan from FECC's lens to share with you. I chose these 3 based on, you know, the current situation and what we're dealing with, and knowing what's going to be really important when we get back into the building or not, hopefully back into the building, but next year, and what's going to be really important. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of that. So the first one, the objective, which you're all familiar with, is improving upon diverse and culturally responsive school practices while supporting the staff through professional development. So a few of our things that we've really wanted to focus on are providing relevant staff development and learning opportunities, focusing on culturally diverse and responsive teaching practices, obviously in a developmentally appropriate, through a developmentally appropriate lens. Ensuring that all of our staff are trauma informed and trained and are able to recognize students who have been exposed to those ACEs or adverse childhood experiences. And there's probably going to be more than ever after what we've been dealing with, you know, over the last 3 months. To evaluate and update classroom materials to ensure that they're representative of the student population that we have in the classroom. We want the students to feel like the environment is one that is their own, and we want them, when they're learning and they're looking at things, to be able to make those connections. And then to empower families to share thoughts and provide constructive feedback on more of a regular basis. So we've offered stakeholder surveys, you know, in the past, once, twice, 3 times a year, just in general. We really want to start offering those stakeholder surveys more regularly and more specific to certain things going on. When we're having family fun nights, or if we're offering parent trainings and things like that, Is it viewed as beneficial to our families? Do they have any feedback? So we really want to start including them more in a more consistent, timely basis. So this year, some things we started doing to hit on those objectives. Our staff went through a monthly book study with Jamie Solomon. Jamie Solomon is a community member. She is also the director of the School Creativa, which is a Reggio-based preschool in Royal Oak, located right by the zoo right now. And she's also an associate professor at Wayne State in early childhood. So very knowledgeable, but also knows our community. She was an author in this book, and her research helped create this book, Early Childhood Teacher Education on Cultural Competence. So this year, monthly, during our Wednesday early releases, we spent time reading this book, having really meaningful, rich dialogue on what it means and how we can relate it to our community and our classrooms. Some of the issues that we've kind of zoned in on are role of the classroom library. We want our library to be mirrors and windows for our students. So not just reflective of them and their community, but also windows into other communities so that we can start being, really lay that foundation of being inclusive and accepting to everybody. Supporting father engagement or male figure engagement in classrooms and schools. Fostering culturally competent family engagement. So really looking at the language we're using and offerings that are provided. Making sure that you're saying family, family figure, not just mom, dad, and things like that, to be all inclusive. And then we spent some time focusing on children's understanding of gender identity and how you can portray that in your environment with the books you're using and language, which I think is a really strong and important focus, especially in the community of Ferndale, to be mindful of. Not having those gender typical roles and having a teacher not necessarily promote one way or another as being acceptable. This year we utilized our PQAR classroom checklist. The PQAR is the Program Quality Assessment. So it's something that an early childhood specialist comes in and does every year with the classrooms to see, are we using best practices? Are we doing what's best for children, and what can we do to, better our program? There's a new checklist that is used to ensure that we've got diversity in the classroom in all areas. We used that checklist this year, and the district issued library funds to update all classroom libraries. So we use that to make sure that the classroom libraries, again, were mirrors to our students, but also windows to other cultures and ways of life and living. But also so that teachers could have literature in all areas of the classroom. In the building area, there are books that they can relate to. In the science area, there's books that they can relate to. So that was extremely helpful, and the teachers loved updating their classroom libraries based on that. The next thing we did is provided Trauma Smart training for all of our GSRP, our Little Eagles, and our early childhood special education staff. Last year, through a grant, we had our Head Start class, our Head Start teachers be trained. And this year, we continued that training to spread the wealth throughout our whole entire building. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of what Trauma Smart is. Just a short video.
We've all heard the saying, kids are like sponges. It's true. They soak up everything, the good and the sad. When big life tragedies happen, they leave a lasting impression. We make sure the hurt doesn't take over, especially on these little ones. So what happens when you help kids understand how to handle emotions, no matter how big? This, and this, and this too. Trauma Smart. We work with one big goal in mind: to reduce the negative impact of trauma and violence in society. We empower teachers, bus drivers, counselors, mothers, fathers, grandmas, and grandpas, everyone in a child's life who cares about them, by making sure they have the life skills needed to help kids cope with their feelings, the good and the bad. Trauma Smart. You can find us in schools, learning centers, homes, and hearts across the country.
Whoops. Okay, so like I said, Head Start through a grant was trained last year in Trauma Smart. We were able to send our building social worker, Mia Hall, as well as myself, to extensive training called Train the Trainer, so that both her and myself are able to come back to the building and train other staff that wasn't able to do that. So we were able to get mostly through the program this year, but we'll definitely be continuing it next year once we're all together again. As far as that objective goes, upcoming in the next year, we are focusing on 2 books to guide professional learning, both of which with the mindset of reaching equity in early childhood education. We will be doing a book study from the NAEYC accreditation, which is called Each and Every Child, Teaching Preschool with an Equity Lens. And then I myself will be using Helping Children Succeed with Paul Tuff for our e-memo and staff meetings. So this book has very short chapters, 3, 4, 5 pages, but focusing on different things, adversity, different challenges in the home that we can kind of just revisit and have really rich conversation about, to make sure that our mindset is always there for equity in early childhood education. We're going to continue to provide training, Trauma Smart training for all staff and new staff. So it's something that we have to balance, you know, providing booster training for continuing staff, but any new staff that we get coming in, make sure that they get the whole entire program from start to finish. And that's something that me and Mia Hall, the social worker, will make sure happens with all of our staff. Next year, a few things we're focusing on are going to be to increase perception surveys to be provided after building and family events, again, for that more timely feedback so that we can make changes. To continue evaluating classroom materials to be reflective of student population and diverse populations, utilizing those PQAR results. Creating a Black History Month planning committee. And that's something that through feedback we kind of realized was needed. In the early childhood classrooms, we focus on diversity daily. We don't see it as just a month or a specific timeline. It happens daily in the classrooms. But what I've heard from some families is they would like a little bit more spotlight and focus on it, especially during that time. So I want to make sure that as a staff and as, you know, families and other stakeholders, we come together to make sure that we do something that honors that, our families and their wishes. And then there is a watchdog program, which is aimed at increasing male and father involvement in the school building that we'd like to include in our program. The next objective is educating our community on all programs and opportunity offerings within Ferndale Public Schools. You know, when I go to work, there's so many great things that are happening in that building, and I go to admin meetings and I talk to people. But then you hear that there's staff members and there's community members that aren't even aware that there is an early childhood center at Ferndale. And on top of that, aren't aware of how amazing and what wonderful things are happening. So one of the goals is education, just educating not only the community, but Ferndale staff as well. I want everybody from elementary to adult and alternative ed to know, you know, that there is an early childhood center and this is what's happening there. So we want to continue to participate in local community early learning fairs. We want to strengthen and grow our community partnerships. And we also want to increase presence within district communication and just staff knowledge. So this year we continue to participate in early learning fairs. We participate yearly at Ferndale District Libraries. We go to Royal Oak as well to try and get a little bit of that community. This year we had a new partnership with UHS, and their student council and NHS students visited FECC twice a month. And this was such a beautiful partnership. They brought the bus load over and they spent all morning with us, and the children, I shouldn't say children, the high school students were assigned to classrooms, and over the course of the year they just forged these relationships with these students and these teachers, and it was really great to see. They would walk into the classroom, they would just push in like they knew exactly what to do. As you can see from the picture, it would be as simple as, you know, kids sitting on their lap and reading. They would be on the playground and playing. They would assist with students that were having a hard time dealing with big emotions. But they were there and they were so dedicated, and it was great to see. I've had actually 3 student emails over the last few months wanting to know if there were any volunteer opportunities this summer. So it was a really wonderful partnership to see, and I can't wait to see it grow. We also had a partnership through Ferndale Middle School. Miss Gina Phillips, she's the 7th grade science teacher, and she brought her students over to do a science workshop with our kids. So the nice thing about Gina is that she's also an FECC parent. Her child is in the Little Eagles program. But she was able to take that and go back to her students, and they came over a few times to do science workshops with our classrooms. And the kids just ate it up. They enjoyed it, both of them. 7th graders, preschoolers, everybody was smiling and having a great time. We continued our partnership with Ferndale Area District Library for monthly story times. So what you're looking at right now is Mr. Jordan. He is one of the youth librarians at Ferndale, and he would come over monthly and sing with the students, read stories, dance, and it was something that we looked forward to every month. Along the same lines, what we're looking at next year is partnering with the Kulik Community Center to offer youth programs at FECC. So this was something that was in the works, but due to COVID was unable to happen. They had a bunch of camps and youth enrichment classes that they were planning, and we were partnering to have FECC be a location so that we could get community members in the building so they were aware of what was happening, but also so that our families could take advantage of it. They were also helping with our family fun nights. We were doing a T-ball sports health awareness family fun night, and they were going to help kind of sponsor it in a way. So we're really looking forward to continuing that. Providing documentation panels at local businesses to promote and educate about Ferndale's Early Childhood Center. So if you walk through the building at FECC, you will not only see student work on the walls, but you will also see pictures of the students doing the work. You will see documentation and verbiage as to what's being done, why it's being done, and student input and feedback and quotes. We really want to begin providing those things to put up at community organizations, whether that is, the local coffee shop or the library or the Kulik Center. We want people to know what great things are happening at FECC and that there's intentionality behind early childhood education. At FECC, we're not a daycare. We're not babysitting. There is intentional early childhood education going on. So we want to make sure we're educating everybody on that. We want to invest in FECC specific branded materials. The tablecloths, the rollout material. And then we want to develop a grandparents volunteer program, partnering with a local business or organization. So at Lower, they have a grandparents program, a classroom grandma program, and that's something we'd really like to do, to have consistent volunteers in the classroom. But we'd really like to do it with a local organization in the community. And last but not least, something I really want to make sure that I'm focusing on when we get back to the building is expanding upon opportunities that examine, motivate, and ensure physical, mental, and nutritional health and overall wellness for everybody. We all know that what we went through the last 3 months was, nobody's been through that before. And we've got a lot of families that have experienced trauma because of it, and a lot of staff that has as well. And going back into the building or back to work is not going to be without worry for a lot of them. So I want to make sure that we're really focusing on well-being and social emotional well-being for not only our students and our families, but for the staff as well, because that's so important. So to continue to partner with community organizations, to do all of that, to support all of the wellness, to provide ongoing trauma smart training, not only for the staff, but for families as well. And to promote staff well-being by providing opportunities to develop and deepen connections while supporting one another. So this year, we continued our partnership with CrossFit HCS. They come into our building and they push in and they do CrossFit with the students. We typically offer an after-school program for our families. Again, due to COVID, it wasn't able to happen this year, but we're excited to have it when we return. We offered a Cooking Matters class for families in partnership with our Head Start nutritionist, as well as the Cooking Matters. We started monthly school family gatherings. So one day a month, we would have a monthly school family dinner. So that would be for staff. And it would be just a way to kind of work on strengthening those relationships and support one another outside of the building. Because it's really easy to get inside and close your door and feel like you're kind of isolated. And it's important that we know we're there supporting one another. And we also started some staff wellness classes. This year it was yoga, and we continued that through COVID, doing yoga virtually, which isn't as easy, but we did it a few times. Upcoming next year, we are going to increase our staff and family involvement on the district wellness committee. I want to implement taste testing programs. So once a month, working with Chartwells and Cooking Matters, providing different healthy food options for our students and families to try. The Kulik Center partnership, we want to continue advertising for them because it's a beneficial partnership, as well as using our location. And then I think the most important thing under this whole objective is the next thing, which is the Smart Connections parent training, which is a trauma smart training for parents. How do parents deal with and, respond to trauma? Do they know what trauma is, and how they can best support their child or even themselves during that? So that's one that I'm really excited about being able to provide. And short and sweet, right? That is it. I am done. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah,
It sounds like there's so much amazing stuff going on over there, and to see the growth of that program and all the amazing things that you guys are doing and what you're bringing to it, it just makes me giddy. So thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, wonderful job with the strategic plan integration and with the presentation. I certainly learned quite a bit from it and appreciate you taking the time to provide us all the great stuff that you're doing and all the great stuff you're planning for next year.
Yeah, just echoing what Danya said, I really appreciate the depth with which you engaged the strategic plan and integrated it, and it's really exciting. So thank you for all the work, Heidi.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Without further comments, then we will move to item 4 on our agenda, the opportunity for public comment. Any members of the community are welcome to address the board at this time. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board about any matter that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. And please state your name and let us know who you are. And if you would like feedback from the district, please email Dr. Bazzi's assistant, Kimberly.Shepherd@ferndaleschools.org. Do we have anybody with us tonight for public comment? Speak up. You can just speak up if you like. All right. We will close public comment as it appears there are none. And we will move on to the consent agenda. Item 5.1, the request to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from May 18th, 2020. Item 5.2, the request to approve minutes of the special meeting committee of the whole from May 21st, 2020. Item 5.3, the request to approve minutes of the special meeting from May 27th, 2020. Item 5.4, the request to approve bills and accounts for the month of May. Item 5.5, the request to approve resignations and new hires. Item 5.6, the request to approve the Head Start Director's Report. Item 5.7, the request to approve Michigan High School Athletic Association resolution for the 2020-2021 school year. Item 5.8, the request to approve the MASB 2020-2021 membership renewal. And item 5.9, the request to approve the MASA 2020-2021 membership renewal. Does anybody have any items that they would like to pull from the consent agenda? All right. Ms. Shepherd, we've been doing roll call on the consent agenda, yes?
Yes,
Yes, roll call, please.
but I need somebody to,
Oh, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move.
Moved by Sandra, seconded by Anna by wave. All right. Roll call, Ms. Shepherd.
Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Kermuller,
Yes.
Latash. Latash, I didn't hear you.
I can't hear anything, but if you're asking me, yes.
Okay, thank you. O'Donnell
Yes.
and President Davison.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the consent agenda is approved. We'll move to section 6, the action agenda items for tonight's meeting. Item 6.1, the request to approve the Student Board of Education representatives.
Sandra, do you want me to do this, or the floor is yours?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple months ago, I would say a month and a half ago, Sandra Dookie and Jackie Hart went through the process to identify the next 2 student representatives from University High School and Ferndale High School, as 2 of our current board reps are graduating and moving on. They went through an application process as well as an interview process. And tonight we're very excited to recommend to the board the appointment of Jaslyn Coles from UHS and Jada Davis from Ferndale High School. And if we could give, if during the discussion portion, if we could let Jaslyn and Jada just say a few words about, I'm sure, how excited they are, that would be good.
Would you like me to go first?
Jaslyn, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve you, and then I will ask for a second, and then this is Robert's Rules of Orders. Robert's Rules of Order, as I've learned, and then we'll have comment and ask you to say a few words after we do the motion in a second.
Okay.
So is there a motion to
I'll
approve?
move.
Moved by Sandra,
Second.
seconded.
Oh,
Oh, Jim beat you to it, Nan.
Jim! Oh!
So, would you like to say a few words, Jaslyn?
Yes, I would. I am glad to be able to work with all of you guys this year. I have a lot of ideas so that we can better our community and get different opportunities to the student body. Hopefully looking to work with UHS and FHS, doing opportunities for the community within our school and just to get them more involved in school so students can be more motivated and active within their own community and know what to expect. Because a lot of students may not get this opportunity at home or have anybody talk to them or motivate them. So I would like to see more of that happen within the school district and our school. And I'm very excited for this opportunity as well. I don't know if I said that, but.
We're super excited too, just so you know. Like, I can't wait to get to know you.
Thank you.
We are super excited. Thank you for taking it on and having our student representatives participate increasingly in the last couple of years has been really a fantastic benefit to the board as we hear firsthand student perspectives, and we hope that we give you a vision into what board decision making looks like and how these decisions happen, and and we want to include your voice in those decisions. So this is super exciting.
Jada, are you on with us?
I don't think that she is.
Yeah, I see other names, but I'm not sure. Well, Jada, if you pop on at some point, let us know.
Okay, roll call, Ms. Shepherd. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay. Ibrahim,
Yes.
Kermuller,
Yes.
Latash,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dookie,
Yes.
President Davison.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Welcome aboard, Jaslyn.
Welcome.
Thank you. Proud to be here.
Okay, we will move on to action agenda item 6.2, the request to approve the Chemtech, approve Chemtech for site surveys for the 2020 bond.
All right, I am going to do my best Jamie impersonation because he's at the Paulson board meeting. As you can see, our board packet is quite long because Jamie provides a lot of detail, which we appreciate in making recommendations. As we discussed, the bond sale went through, the district is in possession of the funds, and so now the work starts. One of the first things that we have to do in preparing for construction and updates to the land is we have to do surveys of all of our properties on site. So again, the background is, we have to do this in order to provide the land surveys to our architect and GMB. And it basically covers contours, elevations, structures, in terms of parking lot work, improvements, especially land needs to be surveyed at the CASA site where the new elementary will take place. So basically, this will allow us to survey all of the land that in property that will experience some sort of update as a result of the bond funds, which is really all of our sites. So what Jamie did was, again, a very thorough process. He got 3 quotes. It is a service contract. We always like to get 3 quotes every, no matter what, but this is not a service that's bid out because, again, it's a service bid. So the 3 quotes came back, and as you can see, Chemtech was the lowest. It's Jamie's very comfortable with that company. Now, we could have selected a certain company to do certain sites, and it would have saved us a little bit of money, around $3,000. But it really is not ideal to have 3 different companies doing the land surveys. In terms of reports back, it'll be consistent if it's from one firm as opposed to saying we're going to have Chemtech do upper, TCEC, FECC lower, but then we're going to have NOAC do middle school, high school. So again, Jamie very detailed in giving the why behind Chemtech and showing how you could get it a little cheaper, but I would have to agree with him that we want to make sure that one company is doing all of the work. And then basically he included all the proposals for your review, which are included in the board packet. But based on all of the homework that's been done, his recommendation is for us to award the work to Chemtech, which will be, which was accounted for when we built the budget for the bond. Questions?
I have a question. It may be a Jamie question. Does the survey work, and I'm thinking particularly of the CASA site, include evaluating the terrain, the land to determine how how it can be, or whether it needs to be how it needs to be worked with in order to properly support a new building?
Yes, but I think we're gonna have to do, I think we'll have to do a little bit of additional work in looking at it. There is some concern that the CASA building is somewhat sinking. But again, those will, you know, as Jamie would describe it, those will have the right footings, the right foundation to be able to alleviate that. The concerns at that land site aren't, there's a level of concern that needs to be addressed, but it's nothing that builders haven't dealt with. It's not a site that's difficult in terms of building a new building. So yes, this will include that because it is going to look at easements and utilities and certain things like this, but that specifically what you're speaking to, I believe there'll be more work in terms of actually taking boring samples, and there'll be just a little bit more work associated with that to ensure that we have the proper bearings and foundation within that site. So
Thank you.
no, that will still need a little bit more work, and I think a different level of expertise. But I'll talk with Jamie and we'll certainly get that answer back. But I believe we'll have to do a little bit more. Surveys tend to deal with some of the high level stuff like property lines, easements, geographical features that affect the property. But I still think we're gonna have to do some soil samples and things like that.
Thank you.
All right, I'll spare going through all of, but it's all proposals from, that were submitted.
All right, is there a motion to approve agenda item 6.2?
So move.
Moved by Jim, seconded by
Seconded.
Anna. Any other questions or comments? I appreciate Jamie's level of detail.
Yes.
Roll call, Ms. Shepherd.
Mueller,
Yes.
Latosh,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
President Davison.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the request to approve Chemtech for site surveys for the 2020 bond is approved. That brings us to item 6.3, the request to approve the 2020-2021 school budget.
Nancy, I'll pull up the resolution.
Thank you. Okay, as we discussed in the budget hearing, this is the 2021 budget. We're looking at revenue of $36,294,837 with expenditures of $37,498,562, which will bring us to a fund balance of $5,795,619, which is around a use of fund balance of about 1.2 million. So this is a budget that we are asking to be approved.
Is there a motion to request a motion to approve the request to approve the 2020-2021 budget? Moved by Anna,
Second.
seconded by Nan. Questions, comments?
Can I just note here my displeasure with the state and federal governments? But other than that, no comment.
At least the Supreme Court had a good day.
Very true.
Sure. All right. Roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
Latash,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
President Davison.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the request to approve the budget for the next school year is approved. Item 6.4, the request to approve the cafeteria 2020-2021 budget.
Okay. So this is the 2021 cafeteria budget. As you know, this was a bid year. You're required by the state when you have outsourced your food service to go out to bid every 5 years. We went through that process and we've selected Chartwells to be our food service provider. In order for me to bring that to the board for approval, I have to receive approval from the state of Michigan. We've submitted all the documents, but we have not received that back yet. So this budget that I'm asking you to approve is based on the budget that was submitted as part of Chartwell's bid. As you can see, we're estimating that we're going to have a fund balance at the end of the 1920 year of $188,000. And this budget will add just under 100,000 more to that fund balance. We have some ideas on how we need to use that. UHS is one of the areas that we're looking to improve. We want to make the service faster. We want to have more options there for our students. So that in case you're wondering what we're going to do with that money, that's kind of where it needs to go. But it also helps us, buy new cafeteria tables and other equipment in other buildings as we bought 4 new pieces this year. So this is our request. We have revenue of $1,175,000 with with expenditures of $1,075,000 to come to a projected fund balance of $288,000.
So as Nancy said, I really apologize, but it's really out of our control. When we do get that back from the state of Michigan, we'll have to meet back for a quick special meeting to approve the contract with Chartwells. We were holding out hope even on Friday to change the agenda if that had come through, and it did not. Unfortunately, employees at the state are furloughed 1 day a week. And so things are taking a little bit more time than usual.
All right, is there a motion to approve the cafeteria budget for next school year?
I'll move.
Moved by Sandra and seconded
Second.
by Jim. Any thoughts, questions? Discussion?
I am glad to hear that we're going to be able to do something at UHS though. That's great news.
Roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Latash,
Yes.
President Davison.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. With 6 yes votes, the cafeteria budget is approved for the 2020-2021 school year. Item 6.5, the approval of the final 2019-2020 budget amendment.
There it is. Okay. So we started the year with 36,795,000. After going through the first and now we're on the second amendment, we're at 37,464,930. This is an increase from the first amendment of 450,000. Some of the things we received deferred Section 107 funding, which is our adult ed funding of 155,000. This is the money I referred to when I was talking about the 2021 budget, and this is something that we hope we'll get again to help fill that gap there. We also have received the school safety grant for 245,000. And we had an increase of 85,000 in our WIOA adult basic education funding. That's money, again, that we're hoping that we're going to keep for next year. So those are some of the increases that we saw in revenue. In expenditures, we increased $56,000. We had put in the First Amendment increases for the teachers that were working on their prep. So we increased, they continued to do that in the second semester. So we put that through in the Second Amendment. There was also some increases. We just had small increases in most of the budget areas. In transportation, you're seeing the $84,000 decrease. This is mainly due to COVID and the fact that we stopped transporting our students. While the bus drivers were still being paid, there was things, some runs that are extra runs that did not happen. So they were not being paid for, like athletics and our field trips that run. So when those things stopped, we also saw a large decrease, obviously, in the use of gasoline for our buses and repairs. So that's why you're seeing a larger increase or decrease there, I should say. And so in our total support services, we had a change of 24,861. Okay. And again, here in community services and other financing sources, we just had very minor adjustments. So our total expenditures went up by 305,000. Again, a lot of that, I mean, you would think at this point we would have a big decrease, but we did add 2 grants so that when we add the revenue, we also add the expenditures at the same time. But it's a net addition to fund balance of 144,000, bringing us to an estimated addition to fund balance of 204,000, which would bring our fund balance at year end to just under $7 million. I really believe we will do better than this. There's a lot of areas because of the closure that we did not spend the money, athletics being one of them. We didn't have the sports, so there was supplies we didn't purchase, and there's other areas as well. So I think we will end up coming in over $7 million fund balance, which will then just go to help us next year with whatever potential cut they end up giving the schools.
Just taking us back to the resolution.
And there's a resolution. So are there any questions?
Nancy, nice job with, I think every year we've worked together, we've gotten it closer to, utilizing all of our funds in terms of getting kind of to that goal of, 1 to 1.5% variance. And obviously the closure has impacted it, but we are getting closer and closer to that mark each year.
Well, this year I'm hoping that we're not closer.
I
And
know, I know.
And we have a lot left over, so that will go for next year to help us out. That's really what I'm hoping.
Fair enough.
I think during the budget hearing earlier, I didn't say thank you, Nancy, for all the good work that you do financially on behalf of the district.
I appreciate that.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Jim,
Second.
seconded by Sandra. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Nancy, just great job managing the finances and keeping us in compliance with all the funder requirements and financial regulations. And, I feel confident going into next year in a way that I wouldn't have thought imaginable when you know, back when we were just starting out in 2014, I think you joined us. 14 or 15.
I think fall of 14.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim, where is she? Ibrahim,
Yes. Am I on mute again?
You were, but now we can hear you.
Kermuller,
Yes.
Latash,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the final 2019-2020 budget amendment is approved. Item 6.6, the request for approval of the resolution to approve the 2019-2020 adjusted budget for the Student Activity Fund.
Okay, so this one looks a little unusual. Back in August, I brought a budget for the Student Activity Fund. What happens here is there was a change in a GASB that was requiring a change in how we account for student activity funds. We were to implement that change this year, so I brought a budget in August for the Student Activity Fund. Because of COVID, they have said that we do not have to implement this change this year. And with everything that had gone on, we made the determination that we would not implement it this year. So because we weren't going to implement it, then I had to reduce and bring to the board a reduction to bring this budget back to zero. And basically we will account for it as we have in years past. So instead of it having revenues and expenditures, it is going to retain its look as a liability. So I know it's probably too much accounting, more than anybody but Jim wants to know, because I'm sure Jim is well aware of this. So that is why I'm bringing forward a zero budget.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Sandra,
Second.
seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Kermuller,
Yes.
Latash,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dookie,
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move that's approved. Agenda item 6.7, the request to approve the L 4029 tax rate.
So Nancy had presented on this earlier. This is something the board has to pass each year as it relates to the non-homestead the 7 mils for our debt service, and the 1.167 for our sinking fund. So it's, all the information was provided earlier during the budget hearing. Nancy, anything to add exciting about that?
And although we don't like the sinking fund to be rolled back, as long as it doesn't hurt our revenue, it's okay. And it is actually a decrease in taxes. So.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I can move.
Moved by Jen,
Second.
seconded by Anna. Just any more discussion? No? Okay, seeing none, roll call, Ms. Shepherd?
Permuller,
Yes.
Latash,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
President Davison.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. With 6 yes votes, the request to approve the L 4029 tax rate is approved. And that brings us to action agenda item 6.8, the Ferndale Public Schools resolution to declare racism as a public health crisis.
Sandra, you want to speak to this one?
Want me to speak to this one? Sure.
Yeah.
So taking into account everything that's happening on in the world, although we do the equity work, we have a tendency of taking off step when actually calling out racism. And I think we all agree that like now is the time to actually put what we say into action and actually call it out as it is. And so that's what this resolution is. It's actually naming racism for what it is and some actionable items in it for us to continue to do the work and more aggressively.
I echo what Sandra says. I thank her for doing the legwork on this and the homework on it and working with other school boards to see, in terms of wording. Sandra also, we reviewed it with Dr. Ruthie Pano-Simmons from Midwest Equity Plains and was really, again, she was very, happy to see the board take this leadership role as it relates to this resolution. I think it also provides us some direction and the ability to now make some changes, specifically as it relates to the celebration of Columbus Day and things of that nature. So certainly some things that we'll be able to now use this resolution to help support the work that we're doing within the schools. And, I really thank Sandra, and I agree with her. The time is, it's time that there's action within the policy that pushes us and holds us accountable to do this work. So thank you, Sandra.
Are we passing this, or can we chat about it?
Well, let me ask for a motion. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Moved by Nan.
A second.
And seconded by Sandra. Discussion.
My discussion is I love that we have this, and that it really makes super uber clear the work that we still, so much work we still have to do, and to make strides and be able to see it in writing, I think sometimes makes it easier to keep the focus on when the tendency for myself is to get really emotional. This is very helpful for me. So thank you.
So I just want to comment, Dr. Akbar is a school board member in Akron, Ohio. And it is actually his draft that I work with, and they are actually the first school district in the country to adopt and name racism as a public health crisis. So Ferndale will be number 2. So I just want to publicly acknowledge him because he is in the meeting.
He is here. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here, and thank you so much for starting this work and letting us jump in on the action.
Thank you very much for joining our meeting.
Yes, thank you. I also want to add my support to this, and I appreciate how it's written in a way that is not just the usual feel good language, but it has concrete steps that I think the board needs to continue to take to reinforce our commitment to racial equity, to fight racism wherever we find it. I think we still have a lot of work to do within our district, and we will, as long as we're, as long as we exist in this larger culture that really is subject to systemic racism, and that systemic racism, I think, affects all of us in very harmful and negative ways, but of course it affects African Americans, Black people more than it does those of us who are white.
I'd like to say that being the oldest one here, I do believe, I look at what's going on right now and think it is about damn time. It is 60 years since the 60s, if I'm doing my math correctly. And I thought we had it all together then. But to my knowledge, we never did anything like this. To me, this is strong. Thank you, Sandra. It's good.
So I want to just add on to my deep thanks and appreciation to Sandra and Dr. Ekbar, who I notice, who is in Ohio now, was our former neighbor from Detroit in Oak Park. I'm proud of the work that we've done, and I appreciate the fact that we actually now have a resolution that calls out racism on its face and acknowledges that we have a lot of work to do and keeps us all working on that on a daily basis. So many thanks to putting this together. And I'm glad we're all of the same mind that this is something that we need to hold close to the forefront of what we do every day.
I agree. I thank you, Sandra and Dr. Ekbar, for your work with this. Clearly, each of us as individuals and all organizations and communities, we all need to be actively and concretely undertaking direct steps to identify racism and to address it. So this keeps us focused. It is clear and direct, and is a good continued guidance in the work that we're doing, because we still have more work to do. So thank you. Roll call, Ms. Shepherd.
Latash,
Absolutely, yes.
O'Donnell. O'Donnell.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Oh, no, you're fine. Dookie,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Kermuller,
Yes.
President Davison.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, the Ferndale Public Schools resolution to declare racism as a public health crisis is approved. That leads us to agenda item, section 7 of the agenda, informational items. The only agenda item in this section is the pre-audit letter.
So one thinks that Nancy's work stops after she gets all the budgets done, but now she's preparing for the audit and getting ready for that to, start their process. We selected to continue with Plant Moran, who will be conducting the audit this year. And so Nancy, for your information, provided the pre-audit letter. So just an informational item.
All right. Thank you, Nancy and Dr. Bazzi. That takes us to section 8, the consideration of any pulled consent agenda items. There were none. Our next special board meeting will be a committee of the whole to be determined. And it sounds like we will have a public meeting for that cafeteria item when we need to. And of course, appropriate notice will be issued. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for August 17th, 2020. And that leads us to our last item before adjournment, the Eagles Points of Pride for this month and for this school year.
I'm going to go first before Nan gets on because I'm going to steal hers. So I thank you all for doing this work with me. But really what I want to do is give a shout out to Dina for all the years that she's been here and wish her good luck on her next strides. And Ferndale won't be the same without you.
We're here.
I'm going to jump on that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dina. You can talk. You go first.
Nope, I was just saying thank you to Sandra.
Okay, because I'm going to now talk about you a bunch too. I'm jumping in on exactly what Sandra was going to talk about. I was talking to my husband today about times that you look back on your life and you can see so clearly that there was a crossroad in your life. And for me, it was coming in partway through my son's first year of school and sitting down at a desk across from Dina and moving Connor to Ferndale Public Schools and having Dina talk to me later on that year and ask me to be part of the ambassadors. And from there, I started getting more and more involved. And it completely changed the course of my life. I'm in school to be a teacher now. I'm graduating this thing, and it all goes back to that crossroad. So Dina, I love you. I'm so glad that you are a part of my life. I can't wait to see what you do. We're gonna miss you so much, and they're so lucky to get you.
Thank you, Nan.
All right, I'm just going to continue on this thread since it's a big thing for our district. When we first started looking at Ferndale schools for our kids, we met an individual whose name shall not be mentioned, and we planned on actually leaving the district. Then we decided on touring the schools, and we actually met Dina as the first face and the first administrator, and that's why we decided to stay. So thank you for everything you've done for the kids in this district and for the curriculum and the social emotional learning. You have brought this district so far and done so many things. And so thank you for all the kids in the district, and thank you for also convincing my family that this is the place to be.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you for your email today. That was very kind. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Best of luck to you, Dina. Can't wait to hear everything.
I'll go next. And Dina, you know how I feel already. You've been very helpful to me personally as I've been going through the becoming a part of the school board. You are leaving a big hole in Ferndale, and I hope Glen Lake knows how lucky they are. So. And I'd like to say one more thing. It's off of Dina though, and now it's on to Sandra. For not only for your work with the drafting or coming together with the the resolution as race as being a public health issue, which I think is, there aren't even words to express how that affects me, Erin, how it can potentially help us to work through with our strategic plan. But I also like to thank Sandra for all the photographs from graduation. Those were just great. You were able to, I don't know, you were able to catch the essence of a lot of the students that I just loved it. So thank you for that too.
You're welcome.
I would like to just add my congratulations, and we will miss you. Best wishes to Dina. My point of pride this month is with the youth, young adult organizers of the Ferndale Black Lives Matter March, which was the day after graduation, and particularly Kyra Newman, who did a great job as both an organizer and a young adult activist who showed her mettle when she was hosting the event and gave a great speech. And as follow-up to that, and Black Lives Matter in general, I would like to propose that the next time that we do meet as a committee of the whole, that we talk about police involvement at some of our athletic events, particularly the auxiliary police at football games, and how best we can decrease the police presence at some of our events, which to me doesn't add safety so much as it adds a little bit of an intimidation factor with poorly trained, armed, older white men.
Oh, you're so right.
Well, similar to Jen, Dina, as I think I've made you aware, I have a distinct memory that will never leave me of visiting Roosevelt when our youngest was, I believe, 3, and cautiously visiting and being welcomed by you, and being totally taken with your clear knowledge and data that you wove into all of your discussion of what happened in the school, was happening in the school, and the culture, and how that culture feeds students academically and emotionally. And from that point forward, with that tour, we were taken. So thank you for introducing us to the district, and thank you for all the work that you've done to make it that district that you described, that continues to be. And other than that, my point of pride too, having been a board member that's been part of the drive-through graduations, and having gone through the 5th grade clap out with my own 5th grader, and I'm continually impressed with the different communities, subcommunities, and subcultures within the district. And I tend to think of our district as relatively small, but the number of dynamic groupings of students and families and educators within our district is remarkable. And I've just been struck by that as our school year has drawn to a close. So that's my Eagle point of pride for the month. Dr. Bazzi, would you like to share something?
Yeah, mine similar to everyone's. Just one is, thank you to the staff, students, families for ending the year on a memorable note. We gave our seniors, the best send off that we could give without kind of the traditional activities. I do think we though started a new tradition with the drive-by graduation. I don't think they're gonna let that go in the future. So probably another way to celebrate in the future, which is a good thing. But the conclusion of the school year, you know, I know people worked as hard as they can with difficult circumstances, and I'm just very thankful to the staff and the community. And then, you know, it's never easy to say goodbye. You know, Dina and I have talked a lot over these 3 years, and I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about myself as an educator. You know, thank you, Dina, for reminding us that, you know, students are more than a test score, that educating the whole child is needed for academic success to come through. You know, those are things that I'll take so many lessons from you over the course of my life. And one of the things that I loved about our partnership was that we had different backgrounds, different strengths, and that's really, that makes a wonderful team because, you know, having two people who have the same thought process, the same beliefs, gets you more of the same. And so I really will miss that dynamic of us really complementing one another in terms of our strengths. But at the same time, you know, I believe that you're gonna do great things in Glen Lake and your path is really bright. You offered us to come visit you, and you know me and my family, we love to go for a drive and have a nice dinner somewhere. So I hope that we can future collaborate. You have a wonderful board and a wonderful, you know, current interim superintendent there. And I'm excited that, you know, that you still want to have ties to Ferndale and that we still want to have ties to you in continuing all the great work and the way that you were really able to tell Ferndale's story that benefited our students, our community, and everyone. And I will surely miss you.
Thank you. Can't talk. I will miss all of you tremendously. You're an incredible school board, incredible. You should kiss your brain. And Danya, you still have me a couple more weeks, so I'll tell you to kiss your brain in a few weeks. Thank you, everyone. I greatly appreciate your kind words.
Thank you, Dina. And with that, our meeting tonight will be adjourned at 8:48 p.m.